Welcome back to Origami Snowman. Playing desert golf and talking about books. Oh boy, doing better at one than the other, even though I haven't even really mentioned books. So, I am going to go ahead and talk about Roald Dahl today. So, if you don't know Roald Dahl and if you haven't read every single book he's ever written, then pause this. I'm kidding. You don't need to know anything going in. Just listen. Roald Dahl, you may not realize it, but I guarantee you know who he is. You've at least heard of one, if not many of his books. He's most famous for writing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You've probably heard of James and the Giant Peach. Some people didn't realize that the same person wrote those two stories, but it's true. He wrote the BFG. That one got real popular in the last few years because they made the movie, you know. He is responsible for Matilda. A lot of people don't realize that. The original book, Matilda, was Roald Dahl. I don't know how involved he was in the musical, but I would imagine not at all. Roald Dahl was an English writer. It's funny, he got his start as a writer because he was a soldier in World War II. He was a pilot, and he had gotten shot down. Nice, hole in one. No, not nice, he got shot down, but the hole in one. Okay, fine. He got shot down in the desert, basically, and survived. And it was a very harrowing experience. And so back home, they wanted to hear about it. So a reporter asked him, would you mind just writing up an account of your story and I will make it print ready? And so Roald Dahl wrote out in, Roald Dahl detail what happened, how it all went down. And he had done such a great job that the journalist was like, there's nothing left for me to do. So he just submitted it to his editor with Roald Dahl's byline, with his name as the writer, because that's what happened. He wrote it. And it was so well received that publishers approached Roald Dahl and said, would you be interested in writing other stories? And that's how Roald Dahl became a writer. And just a fantastically imaginative children's writer. He also wrote some stuff for adults that wasn't as widely known or well received, but he did write a few things. He wrote a semi-autobiographical, actually might have been a full-on autobiography, just called Boy. He tells some stories of his life. Really interesting type, kind of stories you learn about, where he, like his love for chocolate as a child, which, oh my goodness, that was a terrible shot, which directly contributed to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, to Wonka's factory, and all the craziness there. But I want to talk about some other books that he's written that you may have never heard of. So you've heard of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, the BFG, Matilda. He also wrote The Witches, which was made into a movie and then remade into a movie, and is actually like pretty upsetting. It is an upsetting story. I recommend reading it. Maybe not to your kids, but like it's good. It's just, as far as children's stories go, it's nightmare fuel. Children get turned into mice. One little girl gets trapped in a painting. Oh, that was great. It is a dark, very dark story. He wrote a short story called The Twits about a married couple they're so awful. They hate everyone, including each other. And they play all sorts of horrible, nasty pranks on each other and, just ludicrous stuff. But what people don't know is that, well, I'm sure some people know, but what the majority of the people don't know is that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory actually got a sequel called Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator. And it picks up right where Charlie and the Chocolate Factory left off. It picks up with them in the Great Glass Elevator, on their way to the bucket house, Charlie's house, where his two grandmothers and grandfather are still in bed, and his parents are still starving. Grandpa Joe, say what you will. Yeah, he was, unable to help, couldn't work, blah, blah, blah. The minute Charlie gets a ticket to the chocolate factory, he's suddenly well enough to leap out of bed. What a loser. Anyway, I'm not going to judge him. It's fine. The sequel, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, they go to Charlie's house. They crash down through the roof, as Mr. Wonka likes to do. He hates roofs. It's well documented. He breaks out of the chocolate factory roof, smashes through the Bucket's house, basically destroys it. They shove the bed with all the old people into the Great Glass Elevator, and then they take Charlie's parents, take the whole family, and they rocket back up into the sky. Now, instead of breaking through, or instead of using the hole into the chocolate factory that they've already made, he decides, we got to make another hole. Why not? He hates roofs. And so as they have to get really crazy high up in order to break through the roof. But at the last second, just before he pushes the re-entry button, Grandma Josephine reaches out and grabs him and pulls him away from the wall where he's supposed to be pushing the button. But they miss their opportunity, and they end up in orbit around Earth. And now they're in space, and they're floating around, in zero gravity. And Wonka, he's like, yeah, we could go back, but why go back? We're in space. Let's look around. So they have this little adventure in space. They go on board the the Space Hotel USA. I know, it sounds like I'm making this up, but not one word. They end up getting attacked by aliens. Now, there's no one on board the Space Hotel USA. There is a spaceship on its way there, full of, the staff that's going to operate the Space Hotel, but it's not operating yet. It's still new. And Charlie and Mr. Wonka and Grandpa Joe and all, they're the first ones on board. Well, that's not true. There are aliens on board. The Vermicious Canids. And the Vermicious Canids, they are these egg-shaped aliens who can elongate themselves. They're very slimy and very gross. They have one giant eye. Imagine the center of a Tootsie Pop, like a Tootsie Roll that's been mushed up into an egg shape, but you can manipulate it. It's like Silly Putty, but brown and goopy. And the thing is, they're very proud of the fact, the Vermicious Canids, they're very proud of the fact that they can spell. Unfortunately, the only word that they can spell, and the word that they spell for, the elevator gang, is the word scram. And so basically alerting them to the danger. And so Charlie and gang, they escape, and they end up going back into Earth's atmosphere with the Vermicious Canids wrapped around the elevator, and they drag them into the atmosphere where they are sizzled, they're fried by the reentry. And so they save the day. They kill all these horrible aliens. Now they've been invited to the White House. But first they need to get cleaned up. So they go back to the factory, the Wonka factory. Sorry. Mr. Wonka, he offers them Wonkavite, which is this special medicine that he's created, which will actually make you younger. And so he offers some to, Charlie's grandparents to make them all younger. Well, the problem is they all take too much. And Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina, they end up little itty-bitty babies. But Grandma Josephine, she has taken far, far too much and is now a minus, meaning she's now younger than she was old. Does that make sense? She's lost. She no longer exists. So they have to take This is yeah. You thought the Vermicious Canids were far fetched. So they have to take the elevator down, basically to the netherworld, and there are ghosts and there are all sorts of spirits and things, and they have to they have the like a pesticide sprayer full of this other stuff. You know, they took Wonkavite to make themselves older. Well, Mr. Wonka has this other medicine called Vitawonk, which so the Wonkavite makes you younger, the Vitawonk makes you older. And since they can't spoon feed basically a ghost, they have to spray Grandma Josephine with this stuff, and she ends up getting far, far, far too much. And then she's like super duper old. She's like hundreds of years old. And so they have to calculate exactly how much Wonkavite they can give her to get her back to her normal age. So no more messing around with ages. They're just going to be old forever now, and that's all it is. All there is to it. And it's a ludicrous book, but as a kid, I loved it. It was so bizarre. It was just the craziest thing. It doesn't make sense. The plot is, negligible, but it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it, mostly because it was all the characters I liked from the first book, but in a new situation. It was nice. Pardon me. So okay, let me real quick fill you in. My introduction to Roald Dahl was second or third grade Christmas. I got a box set of Roald Dahl books. I got 4 books, and this box set contained Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator, James and the Giant Peach, and a book that I almost never hear anyone mention ever, and it's a shame because it's my favorite Roald Dahl book, one of my favorite books of all time, and it's called Danny, the Champion of the World. And it's all about this boy, Danny, and his father. And his father owns a small service station in the English countryside and a small plot of land behind the service station, on which sits an ancient gypsy caravan. And Danny and his father live in the caravan, just the two of them. His mother died when he was very, very young. And so it's just the two of them. And they live in the caravan and they operate the service station. Danny's father is a mechanic and a very imaginative, very loving man. And, it just details Danny's childhood and how interesting and exciting his father was, and always coming up with fun activities. One day they made a soapbox derby car, and they would race. He would get in this car and he would race it down the hill. And some days, one day they made a kite out of an old shirt and some sticks, and they flew the kite on windy days. One day they made a fire balloon, and it was a dead calm, and they flew the fire balloon way up in the sky, and it came down, and the next day he went and he tracked it down and he found it in a field. And all these things that he and his father would do together. But one night Danny wakes up in the middle of the night in the 1-bedroom little gypsy caravan, and he can't get back to sleep. And so he listens, whenever he's in that situation, whenever he can't sleep, he just listens to his father's breathing, and it calms him down, and he goes back to sleep. But he can't hear his father breathing in the bunk above him. So he listens for noises out in the garage, because sometimes his father might have some work to do. Maybe his father can't sleep, so he goes out and does some work in the garage. And so Danny listens for the little plink, plink, plink of metal, and then he knows his father is working out in the garage. And he doesn't hear that either. And so, he gets up and he looks at the clock, and it's like 11 o'clock at night. It's very, very late. And so Danny, he takes his blanket and he sits on the step outside of the caravan and he waits. And then after a little while, he hears off in the distance, little quiet clip, clip, clip of footsteps on the road. And he hopes it's his father, but he can't imagine what in the world his father would be doing out for a walk in the middle of the night. And then eventually, it is his father. He sees his father coming up the road in the moonlight. And so, Danny greets him, and they have this little midnight feast, and his dad says, "I'm so sorry. I promised I would never do this. I'd given it up. And I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. I'm sorry." And Danny's like, What would never do what again? What were you doing? What are you talking about? And so then Danny's father shares his deepest, darkest secret with Danny. He is a poacher. He's a pheasant poacher, but he hasn't done it in years. Not since Danny was, like very, very, very little. Not since his mother died. And, the story unfolds, and it's this whole story about Mr. Victor Hazel, the guy who owns all the land around them. And he's this very wealthy, very horrible man, and he has these pheasant shooting parties every year. He raises all these pheasants, and he invites all these rich people out to hunt them, and, he's such a horrible, horrible man that Danny's father always took great pride in poaching Victor Hazel's pheasants, and the whole story unfolds. Danny's father is like, "I'll never do it again," and Danny's like, "Well, it's okay if you do. Just let me know if you're going out so I don't worry," and then he tells Danny about the keepers that are in the wood that guard the woods and guard the pheasants. There are these men out there with shotguns, and they're waiting for poachers, and Danny's like, "You can't go out. That's crazy. Like, you'll get shot." And he's like, No, I'm way too clever. They never even know I'm there. And it's this whole story about pheasant poaching, and as a kid, I loved that story so much. There's a scene where Danny's father takes Danny poaching, which now as a parent, I am mortified, to say, hey, we are going to go out and we're going to commit a felony. And furthermore, there are people with guns trying to stop us. So keep your head down. Don't make too much noise, and, just do what I do. It'll be fine. As a father, I'm mortified at the thought, but as a child, that scene where they're in the woods was the most exciting, most intense thing I had ever experienced. It was better than any movie. It was better than any experience I'd ever had. And oh my gosh, I just loved it so much. So I've always loved that book. It's never been one of his more popular books, but it's just such I loved it. And I still, to this day, just am, just in love with that story. Now, Roald Dahl wrote other stories that, were more popular. And The Fantastic Mr. Fox, which I've talked about before with Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson took the short story, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, and made it into a full-length feature film, which is absolutely amazing, nearly perfect. One of the things they do in that movie is taken straight out of Danny the Champion of the World. They take blueberries, and they cut them open, and they lace them with sleeping powder, and then they seal them up, and then they give them to the guard dogs, and it knocks them out. Well, Danny's idea that makes him the champion of the world, as far as poaching goes, they take raisins, they soak them until they're very fat, they slice them open, they pour in a quarter of a sleeping pill, because Danny's father breaks his leg and is given sleeping pills that he doesn't like because they make him groggy, so he just doesn't take them. And so they divide them up into quarters, and they put a quarter of a sleeping pill inside these raisins, because pheasants love raisins. And then they sort of stitch up the raisins, and so then they end up with this whole pile of raisins laced with sleeping pills. And they're going to go out in the woods and they're going to spread the raisins. And the pheasants are going to eat the raisins. And then, as they fly up to roost, the sleeping pills will make the pheasants, like their bodies will go limp and they'll fall out of the trees. Now, at that point, the keepers will have gone home because once the pheasants go up to roost, it's a done deal. They're done for the day. Well, as the muscle relaxant in the sleeping pills kick in, the pheasants all fall out of the tree. Anyway, so the blueberries with the sleeping powder in Fantastic Mr. Fox. That was taken from Danny the Champion of the World. So there are references. So there is evidence that people have read this book. I'm not a crazy person, but yeah, if you ever get the chance, Danny the Champion of the World is phenomenal. Now, I'm pretty sure at some point in time somebody made a movie that no one ever saw, which is a shame, but I didn't see it. I'm glad I never saw it. I think it might have ruined it for me as a kid, but terrific book. I actually tracked down at my favorite local used bookstore, Hyde Brothers. I tracked down a first edition hardback of Danny the Champion of the World. And it is not worth anything. I mean, I think I paid $8 for it. So whoop-de-doo. But it's such a special thing to me, to have this first edition, first print of Danny. It's just, I just love it. So Roald Dahl is also, he is a bit of a corker. If you dig deep, you'll see that he's a dirty old man. There is in one of his novels for adults, he makes reference to a certain body part that I'm not going to name, but I will say that it is. I'm not going to say it. It's a part on a person in the front, down near the bottom. Usually used for evacuating liquid waste, usually from a standing position. We'll just leave it at that. You guys can figure out what I'm talking about. Roald Dahl, in this novel, written for adults, refers to it as a schnoz. As a schnoz. Now, I've always known a schnoz is a nose, but he refers to this other thing as a schnoz. Okay, great, wonderful. Why even bring it up? Whatever. Now, in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, there is a scene where they go into a testing room and Mr. Wonka has invented flavored wallpaper for nurseries. So the little kids can lick the wallpaper, I guess, because, they do it anyway. Why not make it taste good? And there's all the fruits, like bananas and strawberries and oranges, and he's like, the bananas taste like bananas. The strawberries taste like strawberries. The schnozberries taste like schnozberries. And somebody says, what's a schnozberry? So, yeah, Mr. Wonka, he is, I don't know. Yeah, Roald Dahl. He's a dirty old man, but whatever. It's a private little joke that you got to dig pretty deep to find, and yeah, it's pretty funny. So if you've never read Roald Dahl, definitely read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Definitely read James and the Giant Peach. That book that's exciting. Even if you've seen the movie, read the book. There's so much in the book that is so worth reading. It is a quick read. I remember as a kid, James and the Giant Peach, that was the first book I ever read all the way through in a single day. And it's fun. It's a funny, exciting, interesting book, all about found family and about, just finding your place in the world and being accepting of love and not letting your circumstances dictate your behavior. And it's a terrific, delightful little book. Very fantastic, very exciting, adventurous, you know. And if you've never read Danny, the Champion of the World, oh, it's achingly good. It's just yeah. Like it's so good. It makes me jealous that this guy took such a simple story and made it so beautiful. So, you know, just give it a shot. Tell me what you think. And now for a hole in one that you're not going to believe, because it's not going to happen. A hole in two? Can we do that? I'm pretty sure all of these holes in this game are par 2. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, here we go. This is a hole in one, if ever there were one. Never mind. Oh no. Oh no, this is going to be tricky. Hey! Oh. That would have been cool. That would have been a good way to end it. I would have been happy with that. No, that's not. Now I'm just making a meal of it. This is embarrassing. I wish I had more. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about George's Marvelous Medicine. There's a really horrifying short story to read to your kids that'll probably get them poisoned. It's a story about George, who decides that his grandmother, who is this horrible, nasty, mean lady, she needs to learn her lesson. So he decides he's left to take care of her. He's left home alone to take care of her because nobody else wants to do it. So he decides he's going to mix her up some medicine. And he takes everything that he can find in the kitchen, everything he can find in the medicine cabinet, everything he can find in the tool shed, and he mixes it up. All these horrible poisonous chemicals, paint, like garlic, I mean everything. And he puts it in the pot on the stove and he boils it up. And he creates this, he calls it George's Marvelous Medicine. And it's not a great, like, I can't imagine it would get published today. You know, there's far too much hesitation to incur the wrath of the courts. But this is the kind of thing that as a kid I used to do. I would mix up, you know, like potions, I called them. You know, I would just take anything like toothpaste and my mom's makeup and, you know, mouthwash and anything in the bathroom. I would just make potions and be like, what did I invent? Nothing. You invented toxic waste is what you did. Good job. Congratulations. And here is my hole in one. You guys are amazing and wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I got cocky. I got cocky is what I did. I got cocky. And yeah, oh my goodness gracious. I am I'm sorry. That was embarrassing. I'm sorry you had to watch. Yeah. The struggle is real, you guys. You don't even know. You don't even know what it's like being me. It's hard. Every day is hard, and I find ways to make it harder. It seems. Yeah. See, that was, you know. I'm not gonna get cocky, but I feel like this is it. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you're interested in Roald Dahl, check him out. He's really. You gotta be kidding me. That was pathetic. I was robbed. See, I looked at that one and I knew. The odds were not in my favor. Uh, do you think a hole in one? Do you think it's ever, like in the cards? Do you think it's in my future? Do I have another one coming up? How about this one? How about this? Let's just do a nice hole into, or what this? Oh, you guys, this is terrible. This is getting ugly here, but what? Yep, yep. Anyway, I think Roald Dahl is terrific. He's easily the most rereadable author that I've encountered in my life. I've read his books, I think, more than any other, even more than I think Ender's Game, and I've read Ender's Game close to a dozen times. But Roald Dahl, he was always exactly the storyteller that I needed at the time. I always felt like didn't matter what was going on, I'd grab a copy off my. I didn't have a ton of books, but the books I did have, I would just, yep, I would grab a Roald Dahl, and I was happy. I was good. He's always been pretty reliable. Oh boy. Jeez. Didn't mean to do that. This looks like it's gonna be a while. You guys go ahead and get a drink or something. Make a sandwich. Check back in a few minutes. Yeah, that didn't happen. But I do. I also want to, not today, not now, not in this video, but eventually, talk about Kurt Vonnegut. He was also another writer who I loved. He's from my home state of Indiana. I say home state like I don't live there anymore. I live here. Yep, I'm still in Indiana. Oh, crumbs. This should have been, it should have been a hole in one. That should have been. See, look, that's all I had to do. That's all I had to do. So I'll talk about Kurt Vonnegut a little bit. Let's see, who else? Who else do I want to? I've talked about Stephen King. I could talk about Brandon Sanderson some more. He's pretty good. Who else? Who else am I really? I could talk for hours about. Who? I don't know. Douglas Adams is great. If you've never read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but that's not one I can really talk about with any authority. Not like Vonnegut or Dahl, but let's see. How are we doing here? Nope, didn't make it. Man, I'm really dragging this out. I got to learn to dismount. I need to get off the horse before it stops doing impressive things. That was a terrible metaphor. I'm the horse in this scenario, by the way, and the rider. I don't know. That's not great. I'm. It's amazing how I just keep playing this game and I keep talking, and I'm not particularly good at either one of them. I'm eloquent when I'm talking about things that I'm passionate about, but oh, good grief. When I'm just trying to walk you to the door, nope, super awkward. It's that Midwestern goodbye, where you, well, all right, okay, yep, oh, yep, yeah, sure, yeah, no problem, yeah, it was nice seeing you, yep, oh, so, that whole thing where nobody knows how to end it. Well, I know how to end it with I thought it was going in. This is getting out of hand, you guys. This is getting out of hand. I do want to thank you, by the way. The last couple days have been very nice. A lot of views, and oh, good God, this is bad. A lot of views and 2 new subscribers. So hi, guys, the 2 of you who have subscribed. How's it going? I'm glad you're here. I hope you like what you see. Can't imagine, but I mean, it's you're here, so thank you. I can't help but think it's got something to do with Brando Sando, because that video got quite a lot of views. Must not be a lot of people talking about Brandon Sanderson on the YouTubes. They should though, because he's great. And if you want to, clearly I'm not good at desert golf, and I'm real awkward when I'm talking. But I do write books too. I've written 5, self-published, which I'm not trying to belittle what I've done. I'm just saying when when you look me up, don't expect to find me right on the front page of Amazon or anything. You got to dig a bit. My name is Matt Beers, Mattbeers. Oh, balls! I'm never gonna get this one. I'm sorry. I'm emotional. Please forgive me. I thought I was gonna do a fancy ricochet thing, and it didn't. But yeah. So if you are interested in my books, can I recommend 2 in particular? The Blood Pines, my first book. That one's very fun. It's like an adventure, coming of age, found friends type situation. Like learn about yourself and just put yourself in a situation where you're doomed to fail, and then you find out what you're made of, kind of situation. That sort of story. Very satisfying. And that was my first novel. And my most recent novel is called Secretly Kings, set in 1993 primarily. I get to talk about my obsession with punk rock and sci-fi novels, and oh crap, and then also with murder. So yay, it's a little bit bloody. There's some ghosts and stuff. Geez, I'm really screwing this up. So Matt Beers, The Blood Pines, or Secretly Kings. I wouldn't. Dang it! I wouldn't recommend reading my other 3 books. It's a series called Whithersoever. It's a very tongue-in-cheek fantasy. Sorry. I'm okay. It was me writing a story while horribly, horribly depressed. And I didn't really care. I didn't really care what happened. And I wanted to get out of my head for a while. So I wrote a story without really planning anything out. And just went with it and was like, hey, let's see what happens. And so it's funny. It's very funny. But it's also like out there. If you ever wonder, hey, what's it like listening to Matt explain one of his novels? Just read Whithersoever. It's just me. It's me making sure you never forget you're reading a novel. And it's short. They're all about 40,000 words, whereas my others are 65 to 70, maybe a little more. So I don't write long books. I don't have the attention span for it. So, come on. This next one is going to be a hole-in-one. This has got to be... maybe. Who knows? Maybe. Nope. But yeah, I want to talk about Vonnegut, and I'll probably talk about Stephen King some, because I didn't really go into a ton of detail, but, come on. Nope. And there we go. Yep. I really should plan these videos out better. Yeah, because I'm sure there's some Roald Dahl that I haven't discussed that I feel strongly about. Hey, I thought it was going in. Here's this horrible thing to admit. I've never read Matilda. It's sitting on the shelf behind me right now. I've never read it. Yeah, I don't know. Just wasn't really... Hey, a hole-in-one! Oh my gosh, I can end the video now. Thank God. You guys are amazing and wonderful. I love you so much. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.